Welcome to the Tanya Acker Show. Oliver James went through 12 years of school and graduated functionally illiterate. Listen as he tells the story of how that happened and what his journey toward literacy has meant for him and his life. Here I am with Oliver James. He really is a gift. Oliver, thank you so much for joining me today. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me, what was your first memory of school? What's the first thing that you remember about it?
First thing that comes to my mind is someone taking my bag of chips. It's kind of wild, but the first time I've ever acknowledged mistreatment, I think someone took my bag of chips, but she took the bag of chips and she was eating them. And then when I told the teacher they were mine, she told the teacher, no, they were hers. And I realized at that moment that someone was capable of doing something that I didn't even know was possible.
I've read about sort of your experience in special education. And I think for a lot of people, it's hard to think about or hard to understand how someone can spend time in school and not learn how to read. So talk about when you were younger, what was the school experience like for you?
It's hard because it was a world. It was just like a circus. It was just a lot of putting me places that people thought I should be, but I knew exactly where I should be. I should have been at home trying to figure out what life was about. But they were just trying to figure out where to put me while life was going about, if that makes any sense. So it was just put me in a school and I wouldn't be able to function at all. It would just be locking me in rooms to just try to calm me down, or there was nothing there to come and make me feel welcome where I was at. It was more of you're here to do something. And if you don't do it, this is the repercussions.
It sounds like you really experienced school primarily as a place of discipline and not a place of education. When did you leave school? How many years did you complete?
I left my senior year and I went back to community college and tried to finish off 1 year of community college. I never really went to school. It's really complicated. It's hard to explain. I learned how to be a part of something that wasn't happening. I just was able to be a part of it. Kind of like I was on the team, but I wasn't playing, if that makes any sense. So I was able to get in school, but do nothing.
So you would go to school and what? Not go to class, sit in class, not engage? Just explain to me. So you're in 12th grade, right? Yeah. You're a senior. Explain to me what one day, your average day of your senior year is like for you.
Argue with my mom a little bit about going to school. And then she finally takes me there. I pretty much engage with all the kids in the school, have a great time. Life is amazing. And then we go to our first period, which my class was just one class the whole day. It was never switching periods. So I would go to my homeroom class, which would be the class I would be in all day. And I would just sit there with my hood up and probably go to sleep. And that's it. Or they would tell me to get out of their class and go to the office. And I would sit in the office and stare at a room, like a wall, all day. And that would be school for the whole year. Was
this a part of some sort of special education program?
Yeah, special ed. That's what it was. I was in special ed since I was first grade. I had never been in regular classes.
Why were you in special ed? What was your diagnosis?
I don't even know, to tell you the truth. I kind of just go off of whatever I know now. I have ADHD, OCD, PTSD. I got a whole list of letters. I don't know if they even knew that. They kind of just figured it as they went along. Maybe I was being defiant or bad or something, but I was just, maybe my mind was just a little different than other people.
How did you experience not being able to read when you're out with other people, when you're out with your friends? So, did you have tactics or tricks that you used so as to camouflage the fact that you were functionally illiterate? What did you do?
The masking I'm learning. I'm just learning that now. That's another thing. Learning something that you do that you don't know you do. Masking. I became amazing at that. I used to watch movies and just mimic what they did when they went out to restaurants or, even how I talk. A lot of people don't realize I can change my dialect because of masking. So right now I'm doing it because I want to be on your show and I want to be able to speak proper, but I can jump into a whole nother dialect and be somebody completely different because that might be something that can keep me safe in that environment. But right now I'm safe being an intelligent person, so I don't have to act like some other environment. So that's how I learned how to move like around the world, act accordingly, and you'll be addressed appropriately, if that makes any sense.
And you picked all of this up, not because you were able to read, but because you were able to mask, to mimic, to do what others were doing, which some really would point out is quite a skill in and of itself. So you graduate, you are not really able to read, but you're able to mask and to kind of fit into different environments. So you can fit in. At some point, you run into some trouble with the law. It was a gun trafficking issue. How do you get involved in that situation?
It's hard to even explain how you get involved. You're born into it. People that you're around kind of just live that life. So my situation was I went to a barber shop one day, and the barber was just a guy who hung out there. And one day I came in like any other young, little naive 19-year-old, 18-year-old kid. And I was just talking junk with him. And he was like, give me a ride home. And I gave him a ride home, and he gave me a couple bucks. And he was like, you want to keep doing this? Let me know. And it kind of just turned into like one thing led to another. Like, okay, drive me here and I'll give you this much money. And I'm like, cool. I'm just a kid. I don't really know nothing. I don't care. Just give me the money. Then he's like, go pick this up. Find this person and pick this up. Bring this here. You just kind of like, whatever. All right. Sounds good. Ain't no harm or no shame in this. And the next thing you know, you get in trouble. And then you look at the circumstances of everything that went like down, and you're like, I'm just ignorant. I have no idea what I'm even doing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm playing a big man's game. I'm over here doing something I don't belong doing. And you don't know it because you have no guidance, no structure. I can't read. So I'm following whatever's cool, whatever can take me somewhere farther than I was in that moment.
What happened when you got in trouble? How did you realize that this thing that you thought you were doing just to get along and get by and make some extra money, when did it have real consequences for you?
Truth, when you got in trouble, but that's everybody's story. You kind of know that you're going to reach that point sometime in life. I'm lucky that, I was able to make a decision that, ultimately, suits me best instead of, other people in the world. I chose to go a route that, most people won't do because it's corny. Let's just be 100% honest. I'm going to be the person to be real with you. It ain't cool to be out here talking about reading. And this is my dialogue switch. This is how I can talk to the people who understand. It's like, hey, listen, you're not going to get no people. Nobody going to be on your side or be cool with you because you out here talking about books and stuff. You're not going to get no girls like that. That's not, of course, yeah, you're not going to get the ones you want, but you're going to get the things that you really want deep down inside of your soul when you start doing things that can elevate you and educate you. You can go beyond your little city and your little home. And that's where I'm at with my mind with things when it comes to this.
And that's really, Oliver, why I wanted to have you on. It's not so much to kind of talk about where you came from, but I think that that's important because it says a lot to people about how you go from where one was to where one wants to be, especially when you're dealing with something that, I'll be real too, can be embarrassing. What did it feel like being in environments and you knew you couldn't read? You knew you could mask, but you knew that you couldn't engage to the fullest extent. What was that like for you?
It was like living a life as somebody else all your life. You never live in your life. You always live in someone else's life. You're always following someone else's footsteps, and to me, I didn't want to keep doing that. It literally is, if something is cool, you want to be a part of it. If something has a buzz or any energy behind it, you go chase it. You have no stimulating for yourself. I could not stimulate myself. I couldn't do nothing to make me feel happy for me. It had to be what's happy for everybody else. And when I started learning how to read, I'm like, this is mine. Like, can't nobody take this. This belongs to me. It could be corny. It could be fun. But I'm like, I get to keep this. That is when I start to realize, I'm like, there's decisions that could be made here. Like, yeah, this is different.
So how do you get to that place? You graduate from high school, having been basically just pushed from one grade to the next, clearly with some sort of learning or cognitive disability. Does anybody ever test you? Do you meet with school psychologists? Are you given tests to sort of see what you understand? Is anybody doing anything to try to work with you in order to try to get the best out of whatever the situation is?
I remember, like most people probably do, and they're probably going to like see this too. You go to like one room, they ask you a bunch of questions. You're kind of ignorant to it because you don't want to answer them because your family already got you feeling like you shouldn't be in there answering questions. And then you come out, and next, you're in a class. You're in some special class or something. Then like, maybe like 4 or 5 years later, they do it again. This time you're like, man, I'm done coming in these rooms, and y'all asking me these same questions or whatever it is. Like, and then they put you back in another class. Like, and they don't tell you what you're labeled, don't tell you what your diagnosis is. Like, at least from my standpoint, I don't even know how I graduated. I'll be 100% honest. Like, I was one of those kids that used to just be sitting under the bleachers while school was going on half the year. So it's really weird to explain, but I was just getting through. That's it.
Functionally illiterate, but yet you graduated. You have a high school diploma. They gave you a high school diploma after having passed you through many, many grades, but you still find yourself unable to read. I want to go back to something that you said, because you said that you would go into these rooms and people are testing you, and you're kind of hearing from your family that something is not right here. What was your experience like with your family? How did they engage with you as you were dealing with all of this at school?
From looking at it from this point of view now, they engaged with me the way they knew how to engage with me. They didn't really understand it. Truth, yeah. How many people do? And how many people do understand you? Nobody really understands you. So it's hard because they were just trying to do the best they could do with what they had. That's all they could really do. From looking at it from this standpoint of view now, I'm like, they did great. They went above and beyond from where they were supposed to go, above and beyond that. That was all they could do. And now I look at it and I'm like, I can't be mad at them. I'm like, because I know now to do a lot more than maybe what them and a lot of other people have done. I find myself sometimes sitting on the couch and not doing nothing. So who am I to blame? So it's just one of those things you start to realize. It humbles me to realize that my family has been sometimes the best motivation and sometimes the worst motivation because of their do's and their don'ts. Their actions have shown me so much. And sometimes their actions were great. Sometimes their actions were bad enough for me to say, I'm going to be greater than that.
When you say that, you mean sometimes they did things that kind of inspired you to want to do things differently? Is that, yeah. Do I understand you right?
Oh, yeah.
Now let's go back to you, because, you've mentioned that there are these other people around you who influence you in different ways, some positive, some, sometimes when things don't happen as they should, that's an inspiration. There is some drive, some force within you that causes you to say, you know what, as you put it, it may be corny to try to change my circumstances, but I'm going to do it. When do you make that decision? When do you say, you know what, I want to own life for me. I'm tired of masking and parroting other people. When do you make that decision?
I decided to make that decision the day I decided to come into this world. Then you would know, because from as much as I've been through, I realized every single thing I've been through was supposed to get me right here, even on this show. So I don't really, it's hard for people for me to explain that, because I could say, yeah, I decided last year. And then I decided last month when I decided something, someone said something to me. Or I decided when I was in high school and someone hurt me. But I realized my whole life has been leading up to me to get right here and say, this is what it is. People who got this going on in their life, people who got struggles, people who are going through something, I'm here. I'm here to let you know, listen, so do I. We see you, people see you. No one wants to say nothing. I'll say it. We're going to fight together. We're going to go through things together. But it can't it's never going to be, did I make it up in 2020? Yeah. Then the next year goes by and I'm like, no, this is when it really happened. And then right now, last month, I went through something so deep. I'm like, no, this is when it happened. I'm really making the decision. You couldn't get me to come on a live and speak like I'm speaking right now up 2 months ago, because I wasn't this person. I had to grow into this person. This had to come from things that I had to see things in my own mind, my own fears, and then sit back and say, this is it. I'm coming. I ain't showing up on no shows, no different, with no other energy. It's coming with a whole nother energy now, because I know I stepped into another place. That happened just 2-3 weeks ago. So then you could say dang, when did you become this person right here? I'm 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, when somebody jumped on one of my comments and would say some things like, you you're lying about a reader. You could read really great. I'm like, so now I've become controversial because I'm a good reader when I used to be a non-reader. I'm like, oh, so then that changes a person immediately. You start to become a different person immediately because those comments start to put you in a different world. So then that's why I can explain, yeah, these things have been happening when I got restrained in school and I was being held on a wall. And I said, one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to say something about what you doing to me. And now I'm doing it. So like you could say, oh, it happened then. I was saying it then. I'm going to tell on you, bro. You going to get told on one day. It just took me some years. Now I'm on the news. I'm on everywhere. You seeing it and you're going to keep seeing it.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because everything that we are and are doing right now at any particular moment is the result of a sum total of experiences that came before us, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a powerful thought. All of those desires and wishes and things can be there, but unless you take an action, unless you do something, right, to like light the spark, then you may not get on the show and have the platform and be on the, huge venues. I mean, I'm so honored and grateful that you took time to be here with me today because you did something that ignited a spark in your life. It kind of led to the activation of all of these decisions that you made before. And as I understand it, in a moment of real vulnerability, you posted a video about training and you just put out there that you couldn't read. Yep. What made you decide to be so vulnerable in that moment?
I was a person that literally didn't forget. I've been waiting for these moments. Like I knew this. Like I was like, I'm going to one day be able to change my circumstances. I just don't know how it's going to happen. It was a right time, the right place, like internet, TikTok. My lady literally was like, you need to be you. Like I'm with you and I know how you are. The world will love you if you just be you, because the person that you're being it's not a happy person, like to the world. Like it's not fully you. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Like when I went on there, I was just like, it was all the emotions I could think of because I was bottled up. But I knew I was being the person of, like showing my lady, like I could be different. And she's just like, but you ain't being that. Like you gotta let go. And I was just like, that was it. Like I started to think about all the things that happened when I was a kid, what happened over here. And I was like, tell the truth. Tell the truth. Oh, like it was one of those things where it's just like people don't realize they're so bottled up with all the things they created. Like you be cheating, be lying, doing little things and don't know it. And one day you just be like, man, how can I just be free from this? And I was just like, tell the truth.
In your case, it's really bottled up.
Yeah.
Because you're going through your day pretending to be something, understand things and comprehend things that you're not even, just, repeating back what you're getting.
Yes. For 35 years.
For 35 years, Oliver. I mean, I have to tell you, I read that you aspire to be a motivational speaker. I was like, aspire my eye, you are, because you have really, you have embodied the power of making a decision. Yeah. In whatever circumstances you're born into, whatever your family does or doesn't do for you, nobody's family's perfect. And whatever they do or do at some point, you've got to adult up and take responsibility for the way your life is living. You did that. Talk to people, from just a really honest space, because I think that it's hard for a lot of people to understand, frankly, what it must be to like go through life just mimicking things, to not really, there's so much power in there's so much power in a word, and being able to digest it and being able to use it. Talk to people about how they light the match. Like, what's the thing that you say to somebody that makes them kind of think, you know what, now is your moment to re-engineer your whole life. Now is your moment to light the spark of your life. How do you communicate that to people other than just telling your incredibly powerful story?
I first like to just take people to like a really honest place, like a place that you can understand. And I just tell people like, this is honest. You can understand it, but it is really scary. And sometimes people don't want to accept it. You're floating in space on a blue ball. Okay. If that's happening, how much does the problems that you got going on in your life really matter? Your bills, your taxes, whatever you got, all that, your kid problems, like how much do they really matter when you're like, I'm floating in space? You'd be like, yeah, but you don't even think about that. So then when I take people there and then I say, hey, just like, so if you get up in the morning, how great is that? Like, you can start the day off any way you want. It's scary because you already created a life that is already a system. But if you know, like, I'm flowing in space, like I could change the system real quick and do something different. Let me do something I never done today. I'm like, why? Because, why not? Like, I always argue, always complain, always do these other things. But today, I'm thinking about I'm floating in space. Like, I can do anything right now. Like, nothing's really impossible. Let's go do something. Let's try to be positive. Let's try to be something that can make change in the world. Because, in the end of the day, you floating in space. What's the what's the biggest deal in your life?
I'm floating in space. I can change the system. Tell me what you're reading right now. What are you reading right now?
Well, actually, I'm reading The Giver. This was a really interesting book. It's hard reading books, not knowing what you're going to get from them, because I've never been ingested with information. And it's weird because it's starting to teach me something that's really powerful. And I hope people can catch this, because maybe these are my times in life to express it. It's taught me that information is not coming from outside in. Information's coming from inside out. And it's not even the book that's taught me that. It's teaching me that I'm able to interpret what I'm getting because it's already inside of me. So that's so wild, because that means there's a lot of intelligence built up in me trying to come out. And I don't even know that. Like that, I thought it was trying to come in. So I'm over here trying to read a bunch of books to get them in. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what book you read. The intelligence is in you just trying to get out. You just need to operate in reading in any form, shape, or any form. That's it.
The intelligence is already there, and your experience and your interpretation of the magic of these words is bringing something different to that book than somebody else might have. You and I might read exactly the same book. We will have two entirely different experiences of it. I mean, that's what's so powerful about reading. And I want to pick up on that. And I want you to remind young people again of what you just said. Like the intelligence is not what somebody else is giving you. You engage with this material and you are bringing your richness and your smarts to it. Yes, Oliver?
Yes, you're speaking at a level that I wish in the 90s they spoke about to us. They didn't really speak on this level because I don't think they knew how to speak differences. They spoke sameness. And differences let you know that no brain is ingesting anything the same. So if you're like, I'm looking at you like you fly, and they might be looking at you like you have no idea. And that's just how books and reading are. You're ingesting information and you're like, I feel a little bit like this. And this person might feel totally different from the same book that you read. That's the intelligence of the brain. That's what people are starting to accept now, that somebody literally might be getting something different than somebody else on this earth that we live on. Not everybody's getting the same exact experience. And we're just now seeing that. So now people can see that, oh my gosh, we have to have a complete different type of open mind towards everything we have going on. But it's only going to happen if everybody can see it that way and accept it.
You love reading now. Do you ever think about writing? Do you want to write a book?
Truth, I'm going to write a book. I'm not thinking about it.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are going to write a book and you're going to come back on this podcast and we're going to talk about your book. Your journey is so powerful. You were already a motivation. You're a motivation not just to people who may be in situations like yours. You're a motivation to anybody, basically, I think, who wants to really digest the power of a decision. You embody. And people what you have done, your journey embodies, is an example of the power of a decision. So well done. You really honor me with your time. Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.